The McElroy House is a center that serves people in ways that you would not expect.
It was designed to offer a space and a place and a hub for a community to look at itself and say, what do I need, what problems do we have, and what can we solve these together, and we're gonna be the architects of that.
They offer parenting support services. They have the diaper bank. They have a library. They have a free library outside of the center. They have the expanded vegetable garden and the expanded fruits. If there's a need that the McElroy House can't help you with, then they will help you find someone who can help you. But it's those living room conversations. You get to sit down face to face. You're not communicating behind a keyboard, but you actually get to look at the person in the eyes and ask those questions that are difficult to ask, but you can ask them in an empathetic way. We're searching for solutions to our social problems. Having those conversations is the beginning of that.
I think the big, deep hope is community action without necessarily an agenda, where the community brings their agenda with them. It didn't come from the outside. It came from the soil that's there, and it feels like something that was planted, but not, more of like something that grew and that was planted long ago.
My name is Meredith. I'm from Dardanelle, Arkansas. My family has been in Arkansas for several generations. I wound up with this space because my mother passed away. I wanted to be her caregiver, and that's what brought me back to Arkansas. It was my grandparents' house. My mom and her cousins owned it. The McElroy House is inspired by a lot of things. It was inspired by the work of a man named Michael Morrow, who founded the West Kentucky African American Heritage and Genealogy Center. I watched him take old buildings and turn them into community centers and work with youth and work with elders and really dig into the community's history in a way that was fearless and brought stories to light that a lot of people would prefer to remain buried. Michael was working in a predominantly Black neighborhood researching Black genealogy. It was forcing the community, the town of only 9,000 people, to grapple with its slave-owning past and to also acknowledge that the power structure really hadn't shifted in any way. The models that I learned from Michael served as like, how do I do that here? How do I do that as a group effort? Like, not how do I do it, but like, how do we do it, and how do I find the we?
People need community. I needed community when I moved here. I'm home with the kids and the baby, and I was looking for community. I was looking to belong somewhere, and I was also looking to share my experiences and what I have to offer. I found it on Facebook, and the fact that in one of the descriptions they couldn't quantify or identify themselves because it's constantly changing piqued my attention right away. This is a cultural resource, so bring your culture here. Talk about it. We're open-minded. We want to learn about it. If you have a great idea, even though, we may not be culturally the same, we can have community and respect and share.
In 2016, there was a cultural sharing event where it was about half and half, people from Little Rock, people from Dardanelle, and we each brought like a piece of art or something we had crafted or designed, something that meant something to us we could tell a story around. And we just had a kind of like a sharing circle. There was one woman in particular that I will always remember. She brought a quilt that she had made while her husband was deployed in Iraq. It was basically her emotional labor of like helping her get through a really hard time when she didn't know if her husband was gonna return, Everyone brought something to that table that was meaningful to them and was willing to like share and be vulnerable. Even though we don't really know each other and we live in very different places. There's so much to be shared and learned across that particular line that could help our entire state. I think that every Arkansan should know about this place, visit it, hopefully, come to events, I think that it would be amazing if there were McElroy houses all across the state. That could be a network of support for people in local communities driven by those folks themselves.
Oh, freedom. Whatever your thought process is, whatever your bondage point is, that thing you want to be free from, you got to sing it with that same kind of passion, okay? Oh, freedom. Oh.
In the civil rights movement, a lot of the black organizers went to white organizers and said, all right, now you need to go home and do some cultural shifts. You need to go home and do some work in your home communities or communities that look like you. People in Kentucky told me that a lot. For me, accountability looks like being in constant conversation with other organizers in the black community, Latino community. I want to someday be accountable to organizers in indigenous communities, although I'm not currently. One of my biggest mentors is Tafara Waller Muhammad. Tafara has, sat down with a lot of us here and talked to us about this idea that when you're doing change work or when you're doing work to build that beloved community, you don't attack people. People are sacred. You go after the systems that keep us pitted against each other.
We're all trying to help each other. We're all trying to help ourselves. But we don't speak the same language. In spite of all the hurting you feel, all of the pain, all of the messiness between ourselves and other people, just try and show up and try to leave a little piece of yourself here. Even if it doesn't feel like you're changing the world, just leave a little piece of yourself here. That way, the community is touched by you and you are touched by the community.